I'm here at Crown Pawn with the owner Mike Katsanevis, and we're going to talk today about what you can do to raise some money in a pinch if you're going through a divorce or you are divorced and you've wondered about whether pawning something will be the answer. Now Mike, we talked before we got on camera about sometimes people don't think about pawning, and some people have some misconceptions about pawning. And so you're going to share with us a little bit about how the process works so that people understand what it is and what it isn't. Is that right?
That sounds great. So the word pawn, you have an option when you come into a pawn shop. You can either sell your items or get a loan on it. The difference between going to a bank and getting a loan and coming into a pawn shop and getting a loan is you're going to bring an item, a piece of collateral. We are what you consider hard money lenders. It could be a ring, it could be a stereo, a musical instrument. We'll keep that item for 30 days. And at the end of the 30 days, you have three options. You can pay to pick it up, so it would be the principal amount plus interest, or you can extend your loan for another 30 days by just paying the interest, or you can do nothing at all and you're just going to let your item go. It doesn't go against your credit. We're not going to send some guy to come break your legs for it, and your business is still good.
And what percentage is it typically? So in other words, if I pawn something and then I decide to forfeit it and not come pick it up, what am I getting for my item? Just use
hypothetically
some of those things like you talked about, musical instruments or some jewelry. Give us some hypotheticals.
On an average dollar value, with it's about 25% of the lowest selling retail value. That's kind of a good gauge to use.
All right. What are some of the things that what are some of the misconceptions you've seen about pawning that gives people a bad taste in their mouth that just simply isn't true?
I've heard the analogy, you're going to get 10 cents on the dollar. That's not true. Now, keep in mind, if you come into a pawn shop and you want to sell your item or get a loan on it, you want to make sure that it's clean, all the buttons, knobs, everything is in good condition. Bring the remote controls if you're bringing a TV. The big thing is make sure it's clean. Yeah, that's real important.
You also mentioned that when we were talking about the fact that we were coming here to talk about people that need to find some short-term cash flow, especially in a divorce situation, they may not be able to go and dip into a retirement account or a 401k because that's something that the court wouldn't want them to touch.
Right.
They can't refinance their house unless they've got the cooperation of their spouse and things like that. But if you've got some personal property, that's either something that you already owned outright before you got married, something that you acquired by a gift, or something that your spouse, in the worst case scenario, may not really care about. You can take your guitar and you can pawn that, and they're probably not going to make a big stink about it. How does the process work then for pawning something? You mentioned that you got to make sure it's clean, you got to make sure that it's got some value or something like that. Oh, one thing you mentioned off camera, how should people behave themselves? What's the protocol for when they're pawning so that they can have a pleasant experience and that they don't anger or upset the pawnbroker?
Well, keep in mind, I mean, both ends of the counter deserve the respect and dignity that's owed to them. You want to be treated with the utmost respect. You're a client. Regardless whether you do business with that company or not, you still deserve that respect. No difference that if you went to a steakhouse, you'd want to be treated like a great customer. And of course, the person behind the counter, you want to treat them with that respect and dignity. The better they feel, the better they're going to work for you. If you treat them mean or disrespectful, I can guarantee it's going to come out in the values that they offer you. As far as the process, you've got something that, again, what was just described, bring it down. Try and be prepared with some sort of value. If you don't know a value, just tell the broker right out, I have no idea. Would you make me an offer, please? I have no clue what this is worth. I was sent to you. You've got a great reputation. Whatever it is, whatever brought you to that operation, if you feel comfortable with them. And make sure, whoever you choose, do some research on them. Whether it's word of mouth, Google them. There's a lot of information out there on the different pawn operations, and go in as an informed consumer. Also, the item that you bring in, Google that as well. See what it's selling for on eBay, Craigslist. You want to have an idea what they're going for. Obviously, you're not going to get that value. You're going to get a fraction of that value. And typically, it's half of the value that you'll see on eBay or Craigslist. It could be a third of that value. But you want to go in as an informed consumer.
Now you mentioned that, pawning does not mean that you've sold it to the pawnbroker, that you can do that. You
Correct.
Can sell it, which would make you more money, or you can simply use it as collateral for a loan, on a hard money loan or something like that. One of the things that I wanted to ask you about is, and I didn't want to come across as sexist or chauvinist, but a lot of guys may be familiar with some of the processes that are like pawning, but some women may not. And so there may be women out there that could benefit from pawning, but not feel comfortable. The only thing that would stop them was they'd feel uncomfortable with the process because they're not familiar or because they might be somewhat tentative about it. So Could you take us through how do you pawn something? But I also remember that off camera before we went on, you were going to tell us a little bit about how women can successfully pawn things.
Gotcha. Well, good news to your female viewers and your female clientele. The majority of our business is female. We cater more towards, because of the aesthetics and the way we manage ourselves and the looks of our building, we do cater more towards females. That doesn't mean that guys, we do a lot of business with the male version as well.
What are your percentages?
It's about 65% female, 35% male. The males tend to bring in the guns and the guitars, and the females tend to bring in the jewelry and some of the nicer pieces. And as far as females go, the majority of the households now economically are run by, the women run the checkbooks. And so it's more normal for us to see more female than male patrons. Now, the whole process is going to happen. Again, if you have an idea as far as value goes, it helps. If you don't, just tell them, listen, I have no clue.
All right.
And that's a fair answer. And at that point, you'll agree to a value, and then you're going to hand over your state-issued ID. It could be your U.S. passport, your driver's license. It doesn't have to be Utah. It can be any state in the nation. Okay. And then they'll take that information, put that information into the computer. They're going to have you sign a contract stating that it's free of any encumbrances, that you have full title and right to sell or get a loan on this item. They'll take a fingerprint, and you're done. You're going to walk out with cash. And again, you decide not to come back if you got a loan, no problem. If you decide to sell it, it's just like anything else. You just sold it.
Do I get a claim check then? How do I know that
So,
when I come back if
no
I want
problem.
to retrieve it?
On the loan, you'll get a receipt. Obviously, your copy of the contract. On the sell, it's just the sell. And if you need a copy of it, just ask and they'll make you a copy of their ticket.
So if I come back in 30 days, what do I do? Just give you my receipt, or do I give you a number, or how do I retrieve that?
Typically preferred is that you come in with your copy of the contract. If you don't have that, obviously everything's done by ID, and that's probably the easiest and most efficient way.
That's great. All right. Well, you've really made this a simple process, and there's not a lot of time that we had to take to go through that. I appreciate you taking the time. For those people that would like to actually take the plunge and go pawn something, could you give us the contact information for your shop?
You bet. So this is Crown Jewelers and Pawn. We're located at 130 East, 3300 South in South Salt Lake, Utah, or Salt Lake City, Utah. Just a block east of State Street, and then we've got another location off the freeway, also on 33rd South and 3rd West.
Thanks a lot.
You're welcome. A pleasure.
Yeah,